All right, well, we're back on the Quorn. I made a little more progress, thought I'd catch you up again. Last series, or last video, was about the collars that go top and bottom here. And I shot a little bit of footage that I think I've either lost or I've got an issue with. Anyway, if I come across it, we'll post it. But it shows part of the progress here. So I've been working on the front bed bar area. Now I've messed up the paint on my castings again. We've been drilling and pounding and moving stuff around. So anyway, this is my split cotter. Now this has just got a nut on it for right now, if I can get it back out of here, until I make ball handles. So I've just got a nut on here to try it out until I make ball handles. So what I did with this is my split cotter here. And there's my grooves in the top that I'd cut before for the alignment pins. And if we look down here, that's where I've messed up the paint on these castings. So anyway, we'll go back and touch that up, but I've got alignment pins in there, so I don't have to worry about this rotating out of position because it will sit in those pins and align it. So what I've done is I've taken a 5/16 24, which is one of the sizes I'm using for a lot of these bolts. The ball handle will be set up for this size. And it was a socket head cap screw. So what I did is I threaded the back portion. When I set these up, I separated them, of course, parted them across and then faced off the faces, opened up this side so it's oversized on the bolt so it doesn't have alignment issues. Then I took this socket head cap screw, threaded it in here as deep as it would go, Loctite it in position, and then I turned the rest of the head off. So we've gotten rid of that so it's flush, so it sits in far enough. And like I say, for now, I've just got a nut on here to hold it together to try this out with. And then when we fit up ball handles on it, why, it'll get a washer turned specifically to that thickness, and it'll tighten down on the ball handle, and we'll cut off the extra of this bolt that we don't need. So final fitting thing, everything is, until I actually final fit something, get it completely painted, put together, and assembled in final form, why, it's still a work in progress. So I still have to go back and look at these. Anyway, it aligns through there, and aligns through there, sets in position just like that. I bored the end of this to accept the spring that will provide tension to go out, and it will set in here just like this. Now, I do have the advantage, whether anybody likes guns or not, being a gunsmith, this is a portion of a recoil spring for a Remington 742. Remington 740, 742. So, and it's different lengths. So I tried about 4 different ones of these, made adjustments to length and spring tension until I got one that gave me the action that I wanted. So we'll show that going together in a minute. Anyway, there's the flat bottom hole board for that. So our front bar slides back on. Now I've turned all 4 of my collars. Now these will get made thinner and down. I have to probably countersink these yet for screws. I'm not sure exactly what screws I'm using there, other than they're going to be 440s. So that one will attach to this end of this base, and I haven't drilled these holes yet. This will be one side of the workhead base, and this will be the other side of the workhead base that will slide along. Actually, one will go into the workhead base. This other side will go into the rocking arm that will sit here like this. So it'll actually be, once it's all done, it will screw to that and provide that seal, because this will just float on the workhead base itself. So there's those 2, and then I have the 4th one that goes against this base casting when it's done, and I'll wait until I get the felts to fit those up. So the way these slide together is it all just goes back into position there, and someplace, one way I have, and this floats free there, I've got a mark up here on top. I don't know if that shows up or not, but that shows how much travel we've got. So on the other end, I've got the pointer that attaches to this end, and it will have this screw pushing against it to provide tension from the left to the right. So we can go ahead and put this one on. And once I get everything else fitted up and get that far, why, I'll decide how I'm going to finish out these 2 end pieces too, because I'd originally set up to counterbore them for socket head cap screws. They protrude a little bit into the edge of the parts themselves, so there's enough meat there, I may turn those on down and actually just put a button head cap screw or something like that on there. I haven't really decided yet, and it's not a final issue at this point in time. But these get held on with 3 screws, drilled and tapped in the ends, and it's just that simple. It's just drilled and tapped into the ends to hold them in position. So I'm not going to bother to move the camera around to show that. If you look on this end, you can see the same 3 screw holes right there. And on final fit, we'll probably use a little blue Loctite on the threads, just because they're probably never going to come loose, but nonetheless we'll use blue Loctite in case we were to have to take them off of there. This will be scribed deeper for our index mark to be able to see it. Now in the other end, that collar goes there. These 2 will go in the center, this one will go on this end. On the other end, we take our screw, and it's going to set into the end there. Try and stay here out of the way of the camera so you can kind of see what's going on. Had an interesting comment on a video that I did a couple years ago. It just came through today, or yesterday, I guess. And it was about why I felt that a drill doctor was better for sharpening drill bits than messing around with a Quorn. And I believe that's very true. When you've got a specialized machine that's dedicated for one thing, why it's much more efficient than it is fiddling around trying to set up a Quorn tool and cutter grinder just to sharpen a drill bit, even though it can be done normally with a 4-facet method. I continue to go to my drill doctor, and I think it's a better solution for just sharpening drill bits for the most part here in the shop. It's a lot faster and quick and easy, and I don't have to fiddle around with all the setup that I would with the Quorn. Gentleman was kind enough to tell me that the only reason it didn't work for me is I didn't know what the heck I was doing with my Quorn tool and cutter grinder, so it was my inefficiencies rather than the deficiencies of the machine. And he's right, I don't know what I'm doing. But my question to him is, what have you done lately in your shop? You know? And the answer is basically probably nothing. So I lost my little mark here. What happened to it? Well, we'll still put a mark on the end of our collar here, so we got an idea of our travel once we get that far. So that's with the collar on, that's where it is in the back position. And I've already checked this, we get 3/4 of an inch of travel. Now, this is our adjustment collar here. It'll get polished and cleaned up before I engrave it. So this is still just rough. I think I'd shown this in the video that I couldn't find, but anyway, it's got a ball race on the inside to maintain it in position on the end out here like that. So the way this all goes together, and the easiest way I found to do it, is we've got this spring that provides tension on our balls on this end. The best way I found to do this is we started in one end, right here just like that, And I believe I found it was easier to put this in the vise than it was to screw around trying to do it this way. And with that, the ball won't fall out the bottom. Okay, the easiest way I found to do this without shooting it all over the place is our ball is captured on that end. Put my glasses on here so it doesn't poke me in the eye. Just take a rule or anything else that will work, and we'll compress that spring. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is not working the way I want it to. Let's loosen this up just a little bit. Okay, like that. And we are going to want these pushed together slightly. I really thought I'd launched about 4 of these detent balls around the shop before I figured out this was a better way to do it. We can do just a little twist like that, I think, is enough. Put our spring back in there. Depress our spring with the rule. Drop our detent ball because we're trying to stay out of the way of the camera. Find our detent ball again. Let's depress our spring so it's down in there. Slide our detent ball in. Now once we've got it in, and hopefully before it slips away, rotate our wire around, and we're maintained both top and bottom. And everything stays where it's supposed to while we slide that on. Then we can undo our wire again. Pull our wire out. We finish snapping that in place, and there we are, maintained. So then it will rotate the way it is. So we can index that back to 0. Alright, so now we've got our part here. Now on this part, what I did is I have silver soldered a 5/16 ball in the end of my shaft, so that's what we'll rub against the end of the shaft. It's better, in my opinion, this hardened ball is a little bit better against the end of the shaft than just rubbing a flat on the steel. So then this threads in. Okay, and there we are. We've just made contact with the ball. Well, there we've just made contact with it right there. So then to do our adjustment side to side, we just rotate it in however much we want to feed it, according to the divisions on the hash mark, and lining it up. And actually what we're doing is we're going to have it run in, and then we're going to back it off as we make a cut to sharpen an end mill. And that is all the way in, and we end up with right at 3/4 of an inch of travel. So then our lock, get it tightened down just for adjustment here. Do we have got a wrench at the other bench that I used for this. Okay, so that should be preloaded there. Now it will still move both ways. About that much tightness will hold it in position right there. Once we've done that, just that easy. So it's not going to take very much at all to lock that in position. We'll give it a little more than that because under vibration of the motor running and sharpening cutters and everything, it could potentially move, but with a ball handle on there, why, that will be just fine. And that's all of about one, not even one flat, just enough to loosen it. So that's the way that goes together. So the next things are going to be to polish up this adjustment knob and lay it out for our hash marks for our divisions on there. I'm going to leave the stamping of all of these index marks for last because I want a little bit better tooling than I've got to do that with. But anyway, we'll get this marked up, and once our felts come in, why, we'll fit them. After that, or even before that, if I'm still waiting on parts and I get back to this, the next thing on the agenda is going to be working on the spindle. So, and I showed in the last one, we have the bearing sitting here for this. We've got the material to build it out of right here, and we'll get the spindle built and get the motor in here. And along the way, we'll have to do the workhead base casting that we'll set in there and start fitting them up. So we've already got the casting for the tilting bracket here. So we'll get it set up after we get the workhead base done. And it's coming along. I'm actually really happy with that. That looks like it's going to do everything I want it to do. So that's where we are on this project now. So anyway, hopefully you're finding it a little bit interesting. Comment suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.